one of the intriguing things about the human past is the way in which human societies have developed in similar ways in different parts of the world, but completely independently. So one of the important examples of that are civilizations, these complicated societies, where lots of people are living together in coordinated societies with rulerships and laws and religions and so on, and in cities and states, with organized warfare, all these rather familiar ideas to us today, but things that really, give you a common experience in the human past, from the Peruvian Andes to Central America to ancient Mesopotamia to China. Very familiar today with problems of overuse of resources, of pressure on land through farming, the use of fertilizers, and the implications for climate change of all these human activities over the last several thousand years. And all of this begins to appear in ancient civilizations, because this is the time when you get larger numbers of people, you get bigger populations, and of course they begin to make an imprint on the landscape. So when you get the rise of cities, cities clearly need to have productive agricultural land around them. And in many cases what they do is people will set to work building irrigation systems, for example. If you do that in a hot environment, in Mesopotamia for instance, that brings problems of salinity. There's a salt buildup in the ground, the land is no longer usable. So you have problems of degradation, you have problems of the exhaustion of soils, and many societies struggle to improve land, to expand their farming potential, their capacity for farming. What archaeology can tell us about is what the lives of ordinary people were like. And I guess one has to reach the conclusion sometimes that ordinary people didn't necessarily have a very good time of it. But it's an interesting reflection that the kind of inequalities you're getting in these societies, I guess many people were probably happy they thought this was what life was like. There were rulers that were ruled, and that was the way life was. But we can really begin to get some detail of what people were, eating, what their daily lives were like. We can even look at the skeletons and see what kinds of wear there were on various parts of the anatomy, what kinds of daily work they were involved in. And we can look at things like, disease, life expectancy, and, really get an image of not just of what it was like to be, the Pharaoh of Egypt, but what it was like to be the ordinary person farming in the fields and, leading an ordinary life. Even when we get writing scripts in monumental settings, public settings, on temples or on, for instance, Maya stelae, we have these lavishly decorated stelae, brightly colored glyphs setting out text, but most of the people who saw them, they may have been aware what they were, that they contained writing, that they contained words and recorded things, and recorded perhaps statements of power, statements of particular events, but they probably couldn't read them directly. So that they were kind of mysterious, and they had a mysterious power to them. Now, that's quite different from what happens later on, but it's quite rare and quite late that you get writing in contexts where many people can write, when you can have a sort of utilitarian, everyday writing. But an example of that is in the Roman city of Pompeii, for example, where on the walls of some of the buildings we have graffiti. So we have, electioneering slogans. And of course, at that stage, that must mean that most people, or many people, can read those slogans. I mean, you're not going to daub the walls with graffiti if most people can't understand what you're asking them to vote for or what you're asking them to do. And that's a very different kind of writing, a very different kind of use of writing from one which is the preserve of a tiny minority of scribes who are using it to control the machinery of government.